Hey, what's up, YouTube? I was trolling around the internet, and I stumbled upon a page called todaychristian.net. And it's a Christian-based webpage, of course, and guess what I saw on there, and I had to respond? It's 10 questions for every atheist. So, I'm really hoping that these questions are better than any of the other questions I've seen so far, and upon quickly perusing them, I see that they're not, but I will scroll through them and go through them as quickly as possible, because I love these questions that are posted on these either Christian web pages or Christian videos, because they make it sound like they got this key gotcha questions that, that are gonna make someone that doesn't believe in a God go, gosh, you're right, I'm just gonna start believing in an invisible genie spirit that can do anything that he wants. So that makes perfect sense. But anyway, so I'm gonna go through them real quick, and bear with the stupid, but hopefully you'll be entertained. Number 1, how did you become an atheist? Well, how did I become an atheist? Right off the bat, the question is flawed. Sometimes Christians, and some Christians, not all Christians, make the assumption that you become an atheist like you become a Christian or you become Jewish, like it's just another faith or religion. And of course, we all know that's not true. In fact, atheism would be the exact opposite of that. So, there's really no way to answer this question, but what I will say is, however, I will say I was born, and growing up, my mom was religious and still is, and she taught me about this magic spirit thing that did all these cool things and watched me at all times. And then after about the 2nd grade, I thought about it for a while, and I'm like, this is pretty much bullshit. And in fact, I believed in Santa Claus longer than I believed in God, so yeah, never became an atheist. You could probably say I deconverted from a Christian, but I was in the 2nd grade, so did I really have much of a choice to begin with? Number 2, what happens when you die? Another Christian fan favorite. Well, what happens when I die, to me, is I would like to be cremated, and then I will think of some place that will be a pain in the ass for my loved ones to get to spread my ashes, because that's what you do with ashes. I don't want to be in an urn or anything like that. I don't want to be buried. However, if you're thinking metaphysically or spiritually or however you think, when you die, your body stops functioning and your organs begin to deteriorate and your body turns into compost, essentially. 3, but what if you're wrong? And there is a heaven and there is a hell. They are hitting up all the Christian cliches here in this video. The reason I find this question particularly annoying is because it can easily be turned around on the Christian, right? What if you're wrong? What if, Ra is the one true God, or Thor, or Odin? And I'm just as tired of answering this question as I'm sure some Christians are tired of hearing the best and most common response. What if you're wrong is retarded because it's simply Pascal's wager, and you can just easily dismiss it on that. There's just too many assumptions and variables rolled up in a question like, what if you're wrong and there's a heaven and there's a hell? How do you know it's the heaven that you believe exists? How do you know it's not, Nirvana or Olympus or whatever? See, the fact that you think that the fact that you pose the question where there's a heaven and a hell shows just kind of how arrogant you are, assuming that your one religion and your pet God is the one that is true. Number 4, without God, where do you get your morality from? Okay, well, I'm sure we've all heard this one before. This is a shifting of the burden of proof. It is not your job to define what your morality comes from without God. If they're asserting that God is the source of morality, it is their job to demonstrate that. Sure, you can tell them I get my morality from XYZ. Generally, I say, empathy and reasoning or something along those lines. But the question is flawed. So they're saying, well, without God, where do you get your morality? Well, no, Dick. You're saying morality comes from God, then you need to demonstrate that. Number 5, if there is no God, can we do what we want? Are we free to murder and rape while good deeds are unrewarded? This is the quintessential childish question. See, I already have no God belief, so I don't feel free to murder and rape people. I mean, if you're going to tell me that your Sunday school teaching, or you had a dream that one of your dead relatives came back, or you think you had some sort of spiritual experience, and you believe in God, however you got there, and He's keeping you, this belief is keeping you from raping and murdering people, you're fucked up. You are fucked up. If an old Bronze Age fable book is keeping you from murdering and raping people, then you have much bigger issues, than someone that has no beliefs in God. Well, good deeds are unrewarded. See, this is the part I find that's childish. You don't need rewards for your good deeds, Isn't there an old saying that says, like, a good deed is its own reward? I mean, there are a lot of these theists out there that, really think that they're sort of buying their way into heaven with this good stuff, and it just seems like a real childish attitude to have if you do believe there's a heaven, You would think God would know that you are doing good deeds for selfish reasons, because that's essentially what you're doing, buying your way into heaven. Number 6, if there is no God, how does your life have any meaning? Again, this is like the other question. My life has meaning because I define what the meaning is. I mean, I don't understand how, if you believe there's a God, that gives your life a meaning. Unless your meaning is to serve God or something along those lines, which is a little masochistic for me, but again, it's a sort of a shifting of the burden of proof. I mean, you're saying if the way the question is the question is malformed, I would say. You're implying that you believe that if there's a God that gives life meaning. Well, great. Can you prove it? Or are you just going to assume that and then just say, well, if you don't believe in God, then how do you have meaning? Number 7, where did the universe come from? Ooh, easy one. Nobody knows. Number 8, what about miracles? What? All the people who claim to have connection with Jesus. What about those who claim to have seen saints or angels? Let me see here. Miracles are just such a pain in the ass. Not because they're difficult to explain, because there really isn't any evidence for them. I mean, we got the second question here, which is a pretty shitty question if you read it. What about all the people who claim, I guess is what they're trying to say, to have a connection with Jesus? So what? People claim all sorts of wacky shit. People claim they saw Bigfoot. People claim they're vampires. People claim they've been abducted by aliens. The question should be, so what? They have a connection with Jesus. Good for you in your belief that you have a connection with something or some person that you don't really know exists. What about those who claim to have seen saints or angels? Yeah, they're pretty much fucking cuckoo. See my previous answer regarding aliens and Bigfoot and vampires and leprechauns and all that sort of stuff. Number 9, what's your view of Dawkins, Hitchens, and Harris? These are pretty famous, I would say atheists. I don't know if they want to be labeled as such. I believe Hitchens would even consider himself an anti-theist, I would say. Harris is a neuroscientist. Dawkins is an evolutionary biologist, I believe, and they've all written books, and they seem well educated. I don't know what my view are on these guys. They make a lot of good points. I agree with a lot of what they're saying. it seems to make sense, and it's backed by, actual science and facts and evidence. Um, Other than that, they're just normal people like the rest of us. And they are not any sort of like atheist leader or anything like that, or they're not atheist popes or saints or anything. They're guys that have opinions, and Dawkins and Harris have a background in science in their specialized fields, and are sort of spearheading this new. Some call it a neo-atheism, I guess. I'm not really too much into the labels, but I think it's more of an education thing. It's like, hey, let's get the education out there. The more educated you are, the less likely you're going to believe in this mythology shit, and, the better overall society will be. Last but not least, if there is no God, then why does every society have religion? Wow, so appeal to population. You know, primitive cultures developed all sorts of reasons and things to explain the unknown, and we already know through our studies of past cultures, through the sociology, psychology of past cultures, just their physiology and what they're capable of, and this and that. And we have a pretty good idea, why societies have different religions. That's why there's so many religions and so many gods and so many different cultures. You would expect that kind of variety when you have populations that spread out and populate over time. Much like think of it as like language. Language is centralized, as we know, and it spreads out. And as it spreads out, the different cultures and tribes and this and that develop their own little dialects, and those dialects become languages, and those branch out and spread more. Kind of like that. Different languages, different dialects within those cultures, develop different religions and different mythologies and stuff like that. And that's why there's probably such a big variety. But if you were really interested, you would do the research yourself, not post dumb questions on the internet. Well, that was 10 questions. It's 10 questions for every atheist on todaychristian.net. I will post it in the link, and I hope this made sense and it was at least somewhat entertaining. If not by me, then by these really, really dumb and basic questions that really shouldn't even be posted anymore because they are tired, they are old, and we can only explain this so many times before we just say, fuck it. Anyway, this is Lee, signing off.